everyone, and welcome. You're watching Eagle News America. I'm Philip Toledo coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia. It's October 27, 2020, and tonight we have updates from several of our correspondents across the United States and Canada. Thomas Likeness in Edmonton, Alberta.
A Canadian company has come up with an app to help Americans who are headed to the polls on Election Day.
Then Carlo Valdez in Union Township reports about a dozen alleged child predators arrested in New Jersey. Then we'll hear from Anna Cui in Las Vegas.
Nevada's number of votes surpasses 2016 record 1 week before Election Day.
Pearl Rogacion in North Hills, California.
Sports arenas, convention centers, and stadiums in LA open for in-person early voting.
Then Angel Membrere in Sacramento will report about free rides from SACRT as early voting in California continues. Then Jane Kathleen Gregorio in Corpus Christi, Texas shares with us some traits voters look for in their ideal president. Plus, for business news, Bobby Soriano in New York reports about AMD acquiring chipmaker Xilinx. Tiffany and LVMH once again in merger talks, and N95 mask maker 3M seeing huge sales growth. Then for EBC Sports, we'll hear from EJ Gonzalez in Alexandria, Virginia.
Washington football team head coach completes cancer treatments.
And for tonight's virtual roundtable, how much sleep do you need to function? Our coverage begins now with an overview of today's COVID-19 numbers. According to the Coronavirus Resource Center of Johns Hopkins University in Medicine, as of 6 p.m. Eastern Time tonight, Tuesday, October 27, the number of cases of COVID-19 reported worldwide is now more than 43,600,000. The top three on the list of countries with recorded cases are the United States with 8.7 million, India with 7.9 million, and Brazil with 5.4. Sadly, this virus has now already claimed more than 1,163,000 lives worldwide. The countries with the three most number of COVID-19 related deaths are the same: the U.S. with more than 226,000, Brazil with more than 157, and India with more than 119,000. A French official said 4 migrants died Tuesday after the boat in which they had set out from France to try and reach Britain capsized in the English Channel. The official of the Nord Department said 1 man drowned when the boat sank, and 3 people died after they were pulled from the water alive, with 14 others. Some of the rescued were already in cardiac arrest, and others suffered from hypothermia. Meanwhile, the senior state official in the area said on Tuesday an American citizen has been kidnapped in southern Niger. The prefect of the Bernie-Nakoni Department, Ibrahim Abalele, said the American, the son of a missionary who has been living in Niger for several years, was abducted in a garden on the outskirts of Masalata, a village 250 miles east of the capital, Niamey. The official initially said that the missionary had been kidnapped, but corrected this account. There were no immediate further details about the disappearance. Niger lies in the heart of the vast and impoverished Sahel, which is struggling with a jihadist insurgency that has claimed thousands of lives and driven hundreds of thousands from their homes. Several Westerners are currently hostage in the region. They include American aid worker Jeffrey Woodkey, who was kidnapped in the central town of Abalak in October 2016 and is believed to have been taken to neighboring Mali. The president of Niger, Mahamadou Issoufou, said in September last year that he had information that Woodkey was alive and in good health. 3 Europeans, including 75-year-old French NGO worker Sophie Patronin, were released by their captors in Mali earlier this month under a prisoner swap arranged by the Malian government. In other news, people line up to cast their ballots at Nationals Park, a baseball stadium converted into a polling station as early voting starts in Washington, D.C., a week ahead of Election Day. Let's hear from some early voters who lined up today to cast their ballots.
I wasn't sure how long the lines would be, and I think that there are people who can't go except on that day, and I figured I would leave the space for people who didn't have another option. So.
and I waited to the last minute in the primaries and stood in line for 4 hours. So I wanted to make sure that I was able to vote and be comfortable and just get it out of the way.
Yeah. Oh, well, we didn't want to wait in long lines on voting day.
We figured we'd just go in now because just earlier, get it in before that there's any issues later on closer to Election Day.
I wanted to make sure I voted and had time to do it, and I knew who I was going to vote for, so I was ready.
I did vote early today. I just thought, well, I know there's going to be a big turnout for this election and might as well give the folks extra time to count the ballots. So it came out this morning.
A mobile application by a Canadian company has been created to give American voters real-time video, text, and image updates of what's happening at polling places come Election Day. How? Well, Edmonton Bureau Chief Thomas Likeness has the answer. Thomas?
Well, thank you, Philip. You know, on Election Day, it's likely before they head out, a number of voters are going to be wondering just how long is the lineup going to be at their local polling station. A Canadian company called Glimpse Social has come up with a way to get that answer. It's developed an app of the same name, Glimpse Social. The company's website says the app crowdsources polling place information. Now, conceivably, if enough people across the United States download it, the app could cover all 230,000 polling places across the country. It's designed to provide real-time video as well as text and image uploads from voters who are at a polling station. This will provide users with current wait times so they can avoid crowded areas and they can minimize their risk of exposure to the coronavirus. To make sure the information is current, any posts will be taken down after only 1 hour. Now, the company says any user anywhere in the world can get information on any polling station. The app is a free download, and Glimpse says any money it makes from advertising on the app is being donated to support COVID relief, as well as a nonpartisan justice initiative. The app is available for both Android and Apple devices. So as you prepare for Election Day, have good health. Remember to take care of others and take care of yourselves. Stay home, stay safe, and stay tuned to Eagle News for accurate and balanced coverage of the COVID-19 pandemic and other current affairs. In Edmonton, Canada, Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Philip.
Thanks, Thomas. And this is interesting. We've got a Canadian company coming out with this app that is, could be very useful here in the American election in just a few days. Can you talk a little bit more? How does this actually work?
Well, first, a person who's downloaded the app locates the polling station they're interested in on a map of the United States. Now, next, they drop a pin, kind of a marker to indicate that they're looking for information, and this will alert any users at the poll who also have the app, and any user within about 250 meters of the poll would be able to provide information, whether, again, it be a short video clip, photograph, text information.
Now, there's a lot of other social media applications that are out there that people are already used to using for crowdsourcing information. How accurate will this new app? How accurate will the information actually be?
Well, again, because it's based on crowdsourcing, the more people who upload the information, the more effective it will be. More people means more detail. Essentially, what this app is doing is giving you an eyewitness account of the situation at the poll. Philip?
And is there going to be any other type of information besides wait times?
Again, this will depend on how many people use it. People can upload, like I said, video and text, and those images will give you an idea of what kind of personal protective equipment people are wearing. Are they all wearing masks in the lineup? The weather conditions at that particular poll, and of course, the length of the line. As well, that information can be texted. Philip?
Thanks, Thomas. It'll be really interesting. We'll keep an eye out to see if I see any ads or hear people talking about that here in the States, because I definitely think that this could, it could be a big help to voters who are just trying to get an idea of what to expect before they head out of the house next Tuesday.
I've got to ask one question to you. Would you use it?
That's a good question. I'm very skeptical of almost, almost any apps these days. But for me personally, Thomas, actually, I'm going to be dropping off my ballot. I have an absentee ballot that I'm going to be dropping off in a secure lockbox. So, it may not be applicable directly to my situation, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see, because I know there's still a lot of people who are going to take the traditional method of, getting up early on election day and, standing in line.
Thank you, Philip. And you take care and stay safe.
Thanks, Thomas. You as well. Now, when we come back, we'll have updates from our Eagle News correspondents in Union Township, New Jersey, Las Vegas, Nevada, and North Hills, California. You're watching Eagle News America. Please stay with me.
It says the best defense is still containment.
We are in uncharted territory.
Silent volume 450. If on to 100%. Standing by. No suctioning.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business every Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. Open for Business, from vision to action.
Kumanta, sumaya tayong lahat. Saya-saya.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. You're watching Eagle News America. I'm Philip Toledo, coming to you from Atlanta. A dozen alleged child predators have been arrested in New Jersey. Bureau Chief Carlo Valdez has the report.
Thanks, Philip. According to the Somerset Prosecutor's Office, 12 alleged child predators were arrested as part of a New Jersey sting operation called Operation Spotlight. The 12 men, who are from New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and Connecticut, were arrested for trying to lure kids for sexual meetups. These men were using social media and chat apps, but were not chatting with kids. Instead, they were talking to undercover police officers who were posing as children. The undercover police officers identified themselves as minors, but the accused still made plans to meet up for sex. These men traveled to Somerset County, New Jersey, to meet with the children, but instead were met by police officers and were then arrested. These arrests were made over a 4-day period from October 15 to October 18. This was a joint operation hosted by the Somerset County Prosecutor's Office, the FBI Special Victims Squad, New Jersey State Police, United States Attorney's Office, and several local police departments. And as for coronavirus stats and numbers, New Jersey reports of 1,663 new positive COVID-19 cases, pushing the total to 231,331. Sadly, New Jersey is reporting 14 new COVID-19 deaths, pushing the total to 14,517 lives lost. In Union Township, New Jersey, Carlo Valdez, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Philip.
Thanks so much, Carlo, for your report. You stay safe. Now, 1 week before the U.S. presidential election, the state of Nevada's number of votes cast so far surpasses the 2016 record. In Las Vegas, Bureau Chief Anna Cui joins us tonight. Hi, Anna.
Thank you, Philip. Yes, so over 1,125,000 of Nevadans voted in the 2016 presidential election. And with one more week to go before November 3, election officials report as of Monday, almost 699,000 total ballots were cast. That's including mail-in and in-person voting. Now, that's about a 34% increase compared to the 459,000 ballots cast about the same time early voting in 2016. Now, the unusual engagement from voters amid a pandemic may be a sign that could surpass the total number of ballots cast in the last presidential election, not only here in Nevada, but throughout the whole country. Now, Philip, but what could this mean? We were talking earlier, you were asking, what time election day on November 3 will we get results? This could mean, the significant increase in voter participation when it comes to calling the results of the election, probably much more delayed than already anticipated. Experts predict that it may take up to several days, maybe even a couple of weeks before we learn who wins the election, especially with the unprecedented volume of mail-in ballots waiting to be counted. According to the National Conference of State Legislatures, there are about 15 states whose law will allow for counting of their absentee or mail-in ballots before Election Day, but the rest of the country will have to wait until November 3 or even after to start tallying the votes. But according to their website, while this current list is intended to reflect the state's permanent law, many states have made changes to election policies that will only be in effect for the 2020 election. And speaking of the actual counting of the ballots, jurisdictions in some states may lack the experience of counting absentee or mail-in ballots, especially at the rate that they are being returned. What about ballots that have unverified signatures? Well, as of Monday, October 26, here in Nevada, over 3,100 ballots need signature cures. So we'll see what will happen. In Las Vegas, Anna Cui, Eagle News, we live in interesting times. Back to you, Philip.
Thanks, Anna, and thank you for your leading me right in there to exactly what I was going to ask you. Well, what's going to happen to all the ballots that have unverified signatures? We hear a lot about concerns over the validity of mail-in voting and the increase this year. What are they going to do?
Yes, there's much talk about, about the integrity of the mail-in ballots. I actually had a chance early this afternoon to speak with Clark County spokesperson Dan Cullen. I did ask him, because I didn't see it in their website, what's the process? So the process is, with this 3,100 ballots that are lacking, either lacking signatures or they can't match it. They do have a process. They reach out to the voters either by mail, by phone call. They provide them a list of documentation that they need to provide. And if that doesn't happen, then those ballots will not be counted. And earlier, as we were talking also, as long as they return them postmark by November 3rd, on or before November 3rd, they will be counted. And again, it will take a few more days to process them and, before they can be fully counted. Philip?
And Anna, did they give any sense of, when they have to follow up with those that may have an issue with their signature, how many actually respond to verify it? Did you get a sense of that?
No, he didn't have that number right now, but as they receive it, as they process it and they realize that, they find that they're missing signature, they automatically reach out to them. That way it gives time, for them to be able to send them back timely. Philip. Absolutely. And I do have a question for you. Earlier you mentioned that you are going to send in your absentee ballot. Now, for Georgia, was that, did they send out ballots automatically, or did you have to request that?
So we actually, that's a good question, Anna. We had to request it. So out of the myriad of text messages I've been receiving the last 3 months of everyone encouraging me to vote, on one random one, I just kind of clicked on to find out what the information was. And here in the state of Georgia, there's actually an online portal that you can go to that's run by the state Secretary of State, because they're responsible for all of the elections. And so I was able to just fill out the request online. There was a tracker that tracked the application. And then there was even a time when I thought that, hey, you know, I requested this 2 weeks ago. How come I don't have my ballot? I was actually able to just reach out to my county registrar or election coordinator, and they gave me a different website to track it. And lo and behold, I've got, you know, an absentee ballot that's sitting on my table downstairs, just waiting for me to fill out and turn in.
Well, thank you, Philip. I was curious. Thank you for that.
You're very welcome. I always appreciate it when everybody starts asking me questions instead of the other way around. But I'm sure we'll catch up later tonight, Anna, especially when we get to our virtual roundtable, as we talk about how much sleep do we need to actually function. So for everyone that's watching, make sure that you stay tuned for that. Thanks, Anna.
Thank you, Philip.
Now, in Los Angeles, big venues used to hold sports events, concerts, and conventions are now being used as early voting centers. In North Hills, Eagle News correspondent Pearl Rogacion has the details. Pearl?
Thank you, Philip. In Los Angeles, over 100 voting centers have opened across the country to accommodate voters who would like to cast their ballots in person prior to Election Day. Popular venues known for housing LA's professional sports team and holding popular music concerts have opened their doors to serve as voting centers for this upcoming election. Among the list of large venues across the Los Angeles area are Staples Centers, Dodger Stadium, the Forum, Bank of California Stadium, the Long Beach Convention Center, along with additional 600 more locations. According to Dean Logan, LA Registrar Recorder, County Clerk, we want voters to know it is safe to come and vote. You don't need to make a choice between your health and safety and participating in the election. Among the early voting centers available to Angelenos is the world-famous Dodger Stadium. The voting center in Dodger Stadium will be located on the stadium's top deck and will be open for early voting starting October 30th to November 2nd from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. and on November 3rd, Election Day from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Free parking will be available at all voters in Lot P with entrance to the property through Gate A. This voting site will be accessible to all Los Angeles County registered voters and will also serve as a drop-off site for all vote-by-mail ballots. Dodger Stadium will also be taking safety precautions and practicing physical distancing to limit the spread of COVID-19. Face coverings are required at all times. Hand sanitizers will be provided to all voters at entry and exit. Voting will take place outdoors, and ballot marking devices and e-poll books will be sanitized after each use. In addition to serving a voting center, the Dodgers have also created an online voter registration resource guide to provide voters with information and answers to frequently asked questions regarding voting and this upcoming election. The resource guide is available at dodger.com/vote. In North Hills, California, Pearl Rogacion, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Philip.
Thanks, Pearl. And I'm just curious because I'm sure, those at Dodger Stadium, they didn't expect 2020 to be the way that it was. And they were probably not, the public was not able to go there for the majority of this year. Have there been any other events there at that venue?
Yes, Philip, some of the events at Dodger Stadium were the LAUSD virtual graduation. This has served as a staging ground for food distribution as well, and emergency equipment site for those experiencing food shortages. It is also serving as the largest COVID-19 testing site for Los Angeles County. Philip?
Thanks, Pearl. So it sounds like that there's actually a lot that's been going on there. I'm just curious, for your friends or your circle there, how do they feel about going in person to a large venue like that? Are there people that are interested in doing that, or are they going to try to vote by other means?
Mostly that I know are dropping off their ballots right now.
Does it just make it quick and easy, huh?
Making it quick and easy and safe. That's the most important thing.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Pearl, for that report. We'll catch up with you here at the end of our broadcast. You take care.
Thank you, Philip.
Now, when we come back, we'll have updates from our Eagle News correspondents in Sacramento, California, Corpus Christi, Texas, and we'll have tonight's business news with Bobby Soriano in New York, New York. This is Eagle News America. Stay with us.
I don't care how far, 'cause I can go the distance till I find my heroes will come waiting. Ikaw pa nga ang hinahanap ng puso, ang siyang magbibigay ng saya, ng tamis at lambing. I can wait forever if you will. I can wait forever.
Napakalinis. It's so clean when you do the high notes.
Bagay na bagay sa yung Tagalog song.
You have your own identity. Napakahirap pala i-judge itong mga ito pag sobrang mga galing talaga.
Mas matinding sagupaan sa kantahan ng ating mawitness. Abangan ang tapatan. Ito po ang Tagisan ng Galing Part 2 Singing Edition.
I'm Nikki Facal Arsena. Abangan niyo po ako and the rest of the Barkada and your favorite OPM artists on Letters and Music. Prime time na mula Monday to Friday, 8 p.m. only on Net 25. See you!
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. You are watching Eagle News America. I'm Philip Toledo, coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia. Early voting is ongoing in California, and to encourage voter participation, SACRT offers free rides. In Sacramento, Bureau Chief Angel Membrere has the details. Angel.
Thank you. In California and across the nation, voting is already underway. As of today in California, there have already been 7,645,205 vote-by-mail ballots that have been turned in. This number will continue to increase as we approach Election Day. California is still in wildfire season, and that has affected some ballot drop-box locations, specifically in Southern California. The Silverado and Blue Ridge wildfires that have broken out recently have caused 4 ballot drop-box locations to be temporarily closed. However, there are still 112 locations available in the area. For Californians that have already mailed in their ballot and want to know the status of where their ballot is, you can sign up to be notified when it has been received and even counted. The official tracker website for the state of California is california.ballottracks.net. If you have not voted yet, Sacramento RT Regional Transit is offering free rides on the Smart Ride microtransit shuttles. This is to help voters get to drop-box locations across the county. So how does this work exactly? Well, all you need to do is print or take a screenshot of the free ride flyer. This has started yesterday and runs through November 2nd. And on November 3rd, Election Day, a system-wide free ride day. In Sacramento, California, Angel and Brary, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Thanks, Angel. In Corpus Christi, Bureau Chief Kathleen Gregorio shares with us some opinions from voters across the country about traits they look for in what they think is an ideal president. Let's take a look.
Here in Texas, early voting began mid-October and continues to October 30th. According to data collected from the U.S. Elections Project and the Secretary of State, just within the week of October 25, the number of mail-in ballots and early voting turnout in 2020 has already reached 80% of the total votes received during the 2016 election. With November 3rd just around the corner, Eagle News spoke to registered voters across the country to find out the issues that matter to them when choosing an ideal presidential candidate.
The South Texas region here, the voting situation has become something of late where it's gotten a bit where you don't even want to identify who you're voting for. Because if you're the wrong end of the political spectrum, it's deemed acceptable in society nowadays to ostracize your friends, no matter how long you've been friends or what have you. So if you're doing what other people are wanting you to do, then you are not in control of your own destiny. So how would I say the political spectrum is here right now? It's very volatile. We have to actually look at facts and vote on facts versus voting on opinions and feelings. Choosing a political leader, you have to look at the United States as a whole. It's kind of like you're choosing a CEO of a company. And when I say choosing a CEO of a company, is the CEO, are they beheld to themselves or are they beheld to the stockholders? Okay? And the stockholders in this case are the American people. What have you done to enrich the American people rather than enrich yourselves? How am I going to be voting? Right there in the voting booth. I mean, in person. That's the way it was made. That's the way, my family and every other vet has fought for free and fair elections. We're a military family. That's what we believe. And folks do not realize how precious that right is in the lives that we're given in order for you to live in a free country. Get up, folks, get out and vote. If you love America, if you actually love your country, then get up and get out and vote.
For me, the president definitely, you have to have morals and principles. And for me, I honestly, I'm a Christian and I feel like they need to just be a good person and just be honest with the American people. I think those are just the true values and principles that we probably all were raised with. They need to be implemented in a president. Honesty, being forthcoming, no judgment, things like that. Just simple principles that I think we all were raised with would go a long way for all ethnicities.
So in voting, my ideal candidate would conform to my rather conservative values. And my conservative values are that in this economic system, everybody wins. There are no losers and winners. And I'm going to promote a candidate who will help everyone to do well, which it should be able and distribute the money if it doesn't happen by itself in pure capitalism to where there are no losers and winners. That is my big issue in the economy. There should be no poor people that don't have enough food to eat. And yes, I voted for George Bush. And I voted for Nixon the first time. I'm that old. But so it's not about political party. It's about it's about what I think the Constitution really stood for, and that was really for everybody, regardless of creed, color, their beliefs, that they're able to play the game in the United States, be a citizen, and do well. No losers.
Kind of think of the country as like a family and our leaders as the adults. The adults are the persons that make choices for us, and so I want them to succeed and make great decisions for us as a community, as a family, as a country, and whoever wins, I hope that we have a great 2021, because 2020 was full of challenges, and we deserve a good year now. We earned it.
Reporting from Corpus Christi, Texas, I'm Jane Kathleen Gregorio, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you in the studios.
Now we have several stories from our business desk tonight. AMD acquires chipmaker Xilinx. Tiffany and LVMH are once again in merger talks, and N95 mask maker 3M sees a huge sales growth.
Good evening. U.S. markets have closed for the day. Here are your business headlines. Mergers and acquisitions continue to be the talk of the town, as companies struggling during the pandemic are being eyed for buyouts. One sector that has seen a lot of action is the semiconductor industry. After GPU maker NVIDIA purchased chipmaker ARM for a staggering $40 billion last month, rival AMD announced today a major acquisition of its own, striking a deal to buy computer chipmaker Xilinx for $35 billion. In a statement, AMD touted that the combination will create the industry's leading high-performance computing company, significantly expanding the breadth of AMD's product portfolio and customer set across diverse growth markets where Xilinx is an established leader. AMD has seen explosive growth in recent years as both its CPU and GPU product lines have been embraced by users as high-quality alternatives to products offered by Intel and NVIDIA. In merger news, Tiffany and Louis Vuitton owner LVMH are once again in talks in hopes of finalizing a merger that has been in dispute since the start of the pandemic. The central issue has been Tiffany's acquisition share price of $135, which LVMH sees as too high given the hit to the luxury retail business caused by the economic downturn. CNBC reports that LVMH is willing to restart merger talks if Tiffany is willing to drop its share price to somewhere between $130 to $133 a share. Luxury retail has been one of the worst hit sectors during the pandemic, with Tiffany experiencing a decrease of 44% in same-store sales from 2019. While industries like retail and travel have been struggling, manufacturing companies with products in high demand to fight the pandemic continue to see strong business. One such company is U.S. manufacturer 3M, who announced today strong quarterly earnings due to continued high demand for their personal protective equipment. The company reported $235 million in sales, higher than last year of its PPE masks, which include the highly sought-out N95. The company has sold $1.4 billion of the masks so far this year, with an expected $2 billion sold by the end of 2020. 3M said it would be able to keep up with demand and produce 2.4 billion N95 masks annually by the end of 2020. In other earnings news, Microsoft today announced better than expected results for its most recent quarterly earnings, with its Azure cloud computing service bringing in higher than expected revenue. Pharmaceutical company Pfizer also announced slightly better than expected third quarter earnings, but sales of its medications and vaccines were below expectations, with the company attributing it to patients making less frequent visits to the doctor outside of coronavirus-related emergencies. U.S. indices finished mixed as investors continue to monitor rising COVID-19 infection levels. Reporting from New York, this is Bobby Soriano, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Now, when we come back, EBC Sports with EJ Gonzalez and our virtual roundtable discussion about how much sleep do we need in order to function properly. So don't go to sleep yet. This is Eagle News America. Stay with us.
Babay! Gustong-gusto ko yung fake news. Bakit di nila makukuha yung tamang sagot?
Bawal ang fake news. Bawal mali-mali.
Tonto ako sa fake news, hindi nila makuha yung tamang sagot.
Team Papawi! Hip-hop queen!
Ang gusto ko yung PN's the key.
Kasi nakaka-relate din ako dyan. Yung misis ko madalas umorder eh.
Ang red ba? Ang confirmed or cancel?
Gusto rin namin magbigay ng pag-asa sa ating kapwa, lalo na sa panahon ngayon.
Ang gusto ko dyan, ayudawan, nakatulong na, nakakatawa pa.
Driver Grab, nag-deliver, driver Grab.
Ang gusto ko po dyan yung ayudawan kasi marami pong natutulungan na tao.
Salamat po. Maraming salamat po unang-una po sa ama.
Maraming salamat po. Ikwento ko po ito sa aking mga anak.
Gusto ko sa happy time, maalis tayo. Tonto kay KitKat.
Iyan o.
Iyan o.
Hello there. Imagine Demi got the virus, and she infected 2 more. And those 2 infected a lot more of people. And it goes on and on until it became an epidemic. But what if Demi stayed at home? Then those 2 wouldn't have contracted the virus. Then those people would have not been infected. This is not just your battle, it's everyone's, and you can be a huge help. Follow social distancing, or better yet, stay at home.
Congratulations! Classico! Magnifico! Patrick and Aril, go! I know I'm praying for much too much, but could you send back Impact Boys? It's now our second monthly finals.
Ang galing!
Nai-imagine ko na kung gaano kahirap yung pinagdaanan.
Grabe, buong performance mo ata. Feeling ko nakanganga ko talaga.
Naging emotional ako kasi grabe yung performance.
Welcome back. We've got some good news from the Washington football team. Head coach Ron Rivera has completed his cancer treatments. In Alexandria, EBC Sports correspondent EJ Gonzalez with the story. EJ?
Thanks, Philip. You know, it's easy to say that 2020 has been a year that brought a lot of uncertainties, stress, and fears. This is all the more true for Ron Rivera, head coach of the Washington football team. On the second day of this year, Ron Rivera signed a 5-year deal to be the new head coach of the Washington football team. Within 7 months, Rivera and the franchise experienced a number of difficulties that they didn't see coming, including the threat of the ongoing pandemic, the backlash of Washington's former team name, and even cutting their young running back after an arrest due to domestic violence. The biggest hurdle of all for Ron Rivera was when he was diagnosed with cancer in August, just months before the start of the NFL season. Ron Rivera started feeling a lump in his neck for a couple of weeks before getting it checked out. He was then diagnosed with an early stage of squamous cell carcinoma in a lymph node. Since it was found at an early stage, Rivera learned that the cancer had a high chance of being cured. Because of this, the doctors supported his decision to continue his coaching duties for Washington while receiving treatment. The NFL season began in early September, and the Washington football team won their season opener against the Philadelphia Eagles. Since then, however, Washington had seen loss after loss, allowing their overall record to drop to 1-5. During these weeks, there were times when Coach Rivera was seen sluggish and imbalanced on the sidelines due to the cancer treatments, and even resulted in missing one game. With the health battle of Rivera and disappointment of the team, Washington and fans have been in low spirits. The start of this week, however, momentum started moving towards positivity as Washington defeated their franchise rivals, the Dallas Cowboys, and Ron Rivera received his final cancer treatment. On Monday, Rivera marched down the halls of Inova Shar Cancer Institute in D.C. and rang their famous Bell of Hope. Ron has been a symbol of hope and strength for not only his players and Washington fans, but for everyone around the league. Other players and teams went on to Twitter rooting for Washington's head coach after receiving his final treatment. The cancer care team lined up the halls with pom-poms, confetti, and River Strong shirts as they cheered for Rivera and his display of courage on and off the field. We're wishing you the best of health, Coach, and rooting for a successful remainder of the season. In Alexandria, Virginia, EJ Gonzalez, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Philip.
Thanks, EJ. And you speak about this story, and it seems very personal to you. How's Rivera's story impacted you?
Yeah, so I'm a lifelong Washington fan, but Rivera's story has been more than just about football. I can't imagine what was going through his head when he found out he had cancer, but my respect for him went even higher as he was still dedicated to stay on the field with the team and coach them. Some players around the league, they decided not to participate this season because of COVID. And we know that Corona is more susceptible to those with pre-existing conditions. So Ron Rivera had to face the threats to his life from both cancer and the current pandemic, but it didn't faze him. He remained hopeful, and a head coach who leads with courage like that, it warrants the respect of his staff and his players. That mindset is so contagious. So players want to give it their 100%, just like Rivera. I think this is what fueled the team to victory on Sunday. And now Washington, even with this very bad record, they're just a game back from the top of the spot of the division. So, of course, I'll be cheering for the team's success. But either way, I'm inspired what our head coach has done this season.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for that, EJ. You obviously have such a passion for sports, and I heard that you might be taking a turn at anchoring maybe one of the EBC sports specials that's coming up. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I don't know how to talk about that because it'll be my first time. You got to give me some tips. So after this show, maybe we could, you could share the knowledge of wealth and make sure I don't make a fool of myself because I'm a little nervous, but hopefully I don't disappoint.
I'm sure you'll do fine. But for all of our listeners that are tuning in right now, and they're in the EJ fan club for EBC Sports, when can they tune in to you hosting the show?
Yeah, so we'll be recording this Friday night, and it'll be airing Saturday morning in the Philippines. So hopefully we'll get to catch you, whether it's live or on the video that we post on YouTube and on Facebook, or even live there in the Philippines. We're gonna definitely be looking forward to having you guys watch.
Absolutely. Well, we will be looking forward to that. And thank you so much for your report. And we'll make sure that we see you on Friday.
All right. Thanks, Philip.
Now, according to the CDC, the amount of sleep we need changes as we age. The younger a person is, the more hours he or she needs to sleep. For adults ages 18 to 60, the CDC recommends 7 or more hours per night. From 61 to 64, it's 7 to 9 hours per night. And for 65 and older, it's 7 to 8 hours. However, in reality, sometimes the recommended sleep hours are not met, especially the last several months of the coronavirus pandemic. I know many people have talked about odd sleep patterns or having trouble sleeping. So let's ask our team tonight, how much sleep do they actually get and still be able to function properly throughout the day? and how are they able to achieve this as often as possible? So maybe just to start off, Anna, what's your average number of hours of sleep in an evening?
Hey, Philip, I would say average about 5. I typically get anywhere from 4 to 6 hours, so averaging about 5.
And would you say that that's enough?
Yes, interestingly enough, when I get more than 6 hours sleep, I feel like I'm more tired. I don't know if that's just mentally. I've been able to function on as little as 3 hours when I really had to stay up late to meet a deadline or something. But I think with that could be mental, because then you're telling your body, okay, you're tired, you didn't get enough sleep, so you try to muster up as much energy as you can. Maybe that explains that. Philip.
That's a good point. Now, Thomas, what about you? Do you think Anna is getting enough sleep?
Oh, definitely not. North Americans don't sleep enough. I used to go on 5 hours sleep till I had a heart attack. Now, 9 o'clock, I want to go to bed. We're a couple of hours earlier than you are, so we're just coming up on 8:30 here, just a little past 8:30. But 9 o'clock, 9:30, I'm in bed. I need 8 hours or I don't function at all. Didn't used to be that way, though. It catches up with you, though.
No, I definitely understand that. EJ, how about you? What's your average number of hours per sleep every night?
Honestly, I do try to sleep at least 8 hours a day, and it's been a lot easier, especially with working from home every day. It's a lot easier to get those 8 hours of sleep. Just imagine, even if you sleep at midnight, I could wake up at 8 and log in for work with enough time to spare. So 8 hours a day is what I aim for, and I usually am able to get that amount.
What about we have a special guest tonight, our producer. What about you? How many hours of sleep do you get?
What sleep? No, like Anna, on average, I sleep around 5 hours a day. But like Tom, I would love to have 8 hours of sleep to fully function properly. But getting 5 hours should be okay for me on a day-to-day basis. So I'm okay with 5 hours. Just as long as it's not less than 5, I'll be fine.
And just as long as we have a full episode lined up for the next day, right?
Correct.
So on that note, I know that, sometimes, producing it may cause stress for you. For a lot of us, like I mentioned, over the last several months, we've been experiencing a lot. What helps you sleep better? What do you have a routine or what helps you get those 5 hours that you need?
Well, number one, every night I must always drink a cup of sleepy time tea or chamomile tea, anything caffeine free, and a book. And if a book doesn't help, CDC wouldn't agree with me, but I would always have to watch a movie, one or two movies a night before I actually fall asleep. So that's my sleep aid. Sorry, Tom.
That brings up an interesting question, because I know for me, it's hard for me to watch something before I go to bed, because instead of, falling asleep, I'm going to be trying to watch it. Or if it's something that's boring, then I'm just going to get annoyed with it. And either way, I'm not going to be sleeping. What about you, Anna? Is there something that you do to help sleep? Do you scroll through all your past episodes? Trying to find mistakes that you might have made, or what do you do to help fall asleep?
Well, Philip, actually, I'm one of those that is fortunate, because I have friends who sometimes have a hard time sleeping. So when I tell them, as soon as I hit that pillow, I am like, probably, you ask my husband, you ask my kids, within maybe 2 minutes, I am out. So it's not a problem for me to fall asleep. So for now, that's a good thing.
That is a good thing. My wife is the same way. And I wish I could be like that. Tom, how about you? Do you have to do anything to help yourself fall asleep?
Not really, because when I was going to university, I was working, and then after that, the hours of media, you never knew when you were going to be able to sleep, so you just learned to fall asleep. It drives my wife nuts because I can just lay down and go to sleep. And so really not, if I turn the TV on, that'll put me out a little bit faster. But yeah, I can just lay down and go to sleep.
So what about EJ? Do you have a similar aptitude towards falling asleep?
No, I wish I could fall asleep on command. You know, when the sun is out, I have such difficulty taking naps. If the sun is up, I can't fall asleep. So of course I need a dark setting. But like Eliza said, and Tom, if I'm watching something on TV, whether it be sports or, you know, binge watching on Netflix, I tend to fall asleep. I don't know how many times I've fallen asleep while watching a movie in theaters because of the dark setting. But, you know, if it's dark and, you know, something's playing and especially if there's some music playing, I'll be able to fall asleep.
You know, you said a very important three-letter word that I want to bring up, and that's nap. So my question is, do you take a nap? And if so, does that affect your sleep later? How about Eliza? Do you take a nap every day?
I do like a 10-minute nap. And if I do, although if I do, it usually has an effect at night. It's harder for me to sleep if I take afternoon naps. But sometimes you just have to give in and get a 10-minute shut eye.
Now, I'm very curious to ask Anna the same question, because if she can fall asleep right away when her head hits the pillow, if you take a nap during the day, Anna, does it affect your ability to sleep later?
No, it doesn't. And sometimes I like power naps, just like Eliza. A 15-minute power nap in between, in between activities could really help me. But I have to be honest, there are days, especially on the weekend, when I lay down and I'm out for 2 hours. But it doesn't affect me at night because I go to bed late. so I still fall asleep just the same as easily.
That sounds very nice. So I want to thank everyone. I know at least here on the East Coast, it's getting late. So I know I for one am getting a little bit tired. But before we go, we have some tips from the CDC for better sleep. 1, go to bed the same time every night to condition your mind and body. Make sure there's sleep area. This is number 2. Make sure your sleep area is quiet, dark, relaxing, and at a comfortable temperature. 3, remove electronic devices from the sleep area, which I know is hard for all of us. 4, avoid large meals and caffeine before bedtime. So load up on Eliza's chamomile tea, but skip that greasy food that we were talking about the other night. And then 5, get some exercise. It has been proven to help a person fall asleep faster at night. So we hope that this helps all of you, especially as we're still going through this pandemic. And as such, we want to continue to thank all of our healthcare workers, first responders, and essential workers with a round of applause. We truly appreciate you and all that you do. That is today's Eagle News America. We want to thank you so much for joining us wherever you are. Please stay safe